Good evening and welcome to Daunt Books, where Hilary Mantel is talking about her recent novel Wolf Hall, which has been described as the great British novel, the great English novel, and she herself has described it as the book she was born to write. Good evening and welcome to what we hope will be the first of many Duant Debates. At a time when fewer and fewer television programmes have been made dedicated to books, Fourth Estate, always innovative, have decided to make their own. And we're very lucky for the first one to have Hilary Mantel here to talk about this magnificent book that she's just written called Wolf Hall. In an age where with Twitter and texting and email and our attention spans obliterated, it's wonderful to come across a book so big and so much fun. And anyhow, to start off, here is Hilary reading about Thomas Cromwell.
Thomas Cromwell, as I'm sure you know, was Henry VIII's first minister for about a decade. He was recently described by David Starkey as Alistair Campbell with an axe. Cromwell was a blacksmith's son, and he ended up as Earl of Essex. For most of my book, to work out how he did it, I put the camera on his shoulder, as it were, so you're looking through his eyes, and everything is told to you in the present tense, as if you're there when it's happening. But just occasionally I pull the camera out to take a look at the main characters. And so I'd like you to introduce you to Cromwell. Now a little over 40 years old. He's a man of strong build, not tall. Various expressions are available to his face, and one is readable, an expression of stifled amusement. His hair is dark, heavy and waving, and his small eyes, which are of very strong sight, light up in conversation, so the Spanish ambassador will tell us quite soon. It's said he knows by heart the entire New Testament in Latin, and so, as a servant of the cardinal, is apt, ready with a text if abbots flounder. His speech is low and rapid, his manner assured. He's at home in courtroom or waterfront, bishop's palace or inn yard. He can draft a contract, train a falcon, draw a map, stop a street fight, furnish a house and fix a jury. He knows new poetry and can say it in Italian. He works all hours, first up and last to bed. He makes money and he spends it. He will take a bet on anything.
I suppose, like many people in this room, often doing history in an English school, you only did the Tudors, and you do them again and again and again.
You're lucky. We did the ground plan of a Norman monastery, relentlessly for 4 years.
Well, we had to put up with Geoffrey Elton, and your book couldn't be more different than Geoffrey Elton's book on the Tudors. Why did you choose, a stroke of genius to choose the Tudors? Can you tell us a bit why and what first drew you to them?
Well, it's strange that you mentioned Geoffrey Elton, who was, of course, many of us remember as one of, as an author of a textbook, but he was also the great rediscoverer and the great valorizer of Thomas Cromwell. So I hope he's presiding over us as a kind of guardian angel this evening. Why did I choose Tudors? Do you know, it wasn't so much the appeal of the period, in that I had found one man, whose career I thought was fascinating, would be fascinating in any era. And I fingered Cromwell as one of these extraordinary individuals whom you can see would have been exceptional in any time and place. But of course, his time and place was Tudor England. And that led me into a recognition of the wonderful power of this period, the wonderful excitements of it. my book is joining the action when we're on the cusp of the Reformation. Certainties are being pulled up by their roots. Europe is being remade. So you have this wonderful backdrop, but also the characters in the foreground are pretty wonderful too. You know, they're very strong archetypal characters. And Henry is our Bluebeard, isn't he? And his wife's presenters with such a range of archetypes. And the big characters of his reign, Wolsey, the Duke of Norfolk, and so on. Nobody could ask for a better cast of backing to your main man.
So, and it's Wolsey who's the first big character in the book. The master of the ambiguity, or the science of ambiguity, you write. And Wolsey, perhaps the first pan-European diplomat in England, would you say? Tell us a bit about Wolsey and his role.
Well, Wolsey, during the years of his pomp, was referred to as Alter Rex. He was the other king. He was a man of extreme, I suppose what you could call personal splendour. He was pompous, he was self-important, but he had reason to be. He was a great man. He was a great patron of the arts and of scholars. He came himself from quite a humble background, but that was usually the way to advancement in Tudor England or medieval England. It had always been through the church. Now, Cromwell didn't take that route. The cardinal was, in some respects, a discovery for me, because I suppose we must have got beyond the ground plan of the Norman monastery, because I remember being told that Wolsey was the last great figure of the Middle Ages. He was a humanist. He was a Renaissance prince. He was a European. And what he did was he took England from the status of what I describe as a little offshore island, poor and cold, to a major player in European politics. And he did this not through war, but through diplomacy. He was reluctant that Henry should spend money on war that could be spent on pleasure. So he perfected the art of the peace conference, the peace treaty, the field of the cloth of gold. He was a great talker, a great negotiator. He missed the papacy by a whisker,